Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
We will cover another topic. Very interesting topic now. See, initially, whatever we discussed was at a very simplistic level or the core of Saviynt. Now we will be talking about advanced topics. When we talk about advanced topics, it is not necessary that it is different or difficult. It is just that most of the people usually work on one or two functionalities within Saviynt. But if you want to get employed, if you want to get good packages in Saviynt, you should be a holistic person who knows everything within Saviynt, right? This is called as SoD segregation of duties. What is segregation of duties? See, whenever I am requesting access to an application, there is a possibility that I am getting two accesses independently, which together gives me some access which I am not supposed to have. What does that mean? Let's say I am doing an integration between Salesforce and Linux, and I am developing a code for that. When I am developing that code, my manager approved my request to be the Linux administrator. And he also approved a request of me requesting access to Salesforce and Google Salesforce. I got a development role. My manager approved each of both of them. But now this is fine, right? It doesn't create much of a problem. But rather than requesting access as a developer in Salesforce, I requested access as an administrator, and my manager did not take cognizance of it. And he approved the request. Now what is the problem? The problem is now because I have administrator access. If I'm writing a code and by mistake I did a delete operation on all the database tables of Salesforce, my company will lose all those databases, right? Ideally, I should not have that access. Correct. Now, if I independently would have had Salesforce admin access, it would not have been big of an issue because manually you can delete one table or two tables, but not all the tables. But automatically you can delete all of them together. That's right. Here, the problem is not that I have access to Salesforce admin access. The problem is that I should not be having both of these accesses where I have a development access in Linux, which is allowing me to write and execute code, and I have administrator code access within Salesforce, which is allowing me to delete or do whatever I want. Right. Independently, these accesses are not an issue, but these accesses given together is an issue. Is this understood? I understand. If I have both the responsibilities or both the rights, with the help of one right, I will be able to make it all the database tables, and it will cause big loss to the company, right? And I shouldn't be allotted this kind of accesses. Correct. Exactly. What we need to do is we need to configure, save it in a way where such type of roles or such type of accesses cannot be or should not be given together. Independently, you can request access to one application with one entitlement, fine. With second application, second entitlement is fine. But one user should not have both these entitlements. Right? To do this, we can do two things. We can follow two strategies. One is preventive analysis and the second is detective analysis. Right? If even before our user is able to request this access, if we show them a message that dude is to entitlements, you should not be requesting together or already have access to one entitlement. And then you are requesting access to another one, which together will cause an issue. Right? That is a good point. The person will get to know while requesting itself that, oh, I'm doing this. Correct. That would be preventive analysis. The detective analysis would be that after the person has already raised a request, then we are thinking of what to do with this request. If I want to do preventive analysis, there will be a message that will be shown to the user. I'll show you that message first that you understand what will the end user see. And that is what is important. Let's say if there is a person who requests access to Active Directory, and within Active Directory, he requests access to Finance and Human Resources, both these groups. The person will see this error message. Segregation of duty violation found. And these two entitlements, Active Directory and within Active Directory, Finance and within Active Directory, Human Resources should not be given together. It will say that this is a segregation of duty violation and it is a high violation. Please provide a justification. Why do you need both these entitlements together? This is a segregation of duty violation. This is a segregation of duty violation. This is nice, right? If you are able to ask the user there, and then itself the user will be taking cognizance that there might be something bad that I'm requesting. Correct. This kind of practice can be given on the runtime itself, while in the real time. Right. In the real time. Right. In the real time. In the real time. Now, if the user still feels that I understand this is a violation, but I still to get my work done, I still need this access, they can still go ahead and submit the request. It is not an issue, but we have done our job of raising the concern. This is called as preventive analysis, where we are preventing a violation to happen. This is the second is detective, that even after us raising a request, the person still went ahead and submitted the request. Now, the manager will receive that request. The manager will receive a request for this person, and now they can either accept or reject it. But if you see, the manager will also be shown this message, right? There is a segregation of duty violation in this request. Now the manager can also take a call whether he wants to allow the request. Now what has happened is we try to prevent the segregation of duty violation as much as possible, but still these guys wanted the access. Now what we can do is, now it has already happened. Now there is no preventive analysis possible. Now we'll have to do a detective job. We'll see how to do that detective thing, but this was preventive analysis. Now we'll understand how to configure this. Till now, we'll get the concept of how do you want to do it. Now let's see how do we configure this. What happens is, within Saviynt there are different components which basically forms OD. If you see here till now, what we have covered is we have covered ARs. You are able to see my screen, right? We have discussed as access request services. We have discussed analytics. We have to discuss analytics, but we've discussed admin, and within admin, whatever was possible. We have already discussed it, right? Now, what we'll be discussing is SoDs. When you want to configure SoD, you click on SoD, and here you see 4 options. One is called as rule set. The second is called as risk function and business processes. basically rule set. All of these are, let's say, granular level accesses. You use function to create risk and you use risk to create rule sets. What do I mean by that? Firstly, let's click on rule sets. We click on rule sets info. You will be able to see that there are certain rule sets which are already configured by default. These are out of the box rule sets that comes by default within Saviynt. If you want to create your own, you will click on risks and you will define new risks. As I told you, even risks are made up of functions. Firstly, we will create function. What are functions? Function is nothing. Function is just about defining which entitlement do you want to be part of your SoD. In the last case, we were discussing if I want these two entitlements, the Salesforce administrator and Linux developer. We don't want these to be given together. What two functions will I create? I will create one function as Salesforce administrator and the second function as Linux developer. How do we do that? I'll click on functions. I will click on action. I will click on create function. Once I click on create function, I will give a simple function name. I will choose any description that I would like to give and I will choose a common rule set, right? Because I told you that rule set is something which is made up of rules and rules are made up of functions. That is why we are defining that. Under which rule set are we creating this? We have given the name training rules. And we have defined Saviynt function type, SFP. And I tell you what is the reason. See, all these identity management or access management applications initially were made for enterprises only. What do I mean by enterprises? Big enterprises which are working on enterprise applications. SAP is supply chain application. There is Oracle, which works different functionalities for an enterprise, right? These applications are not used by you and me. It is used by the people who are working on different works within an enterprise. These are called as enterprise applications. The application that we are dealing with right now, these Active Directory, these are not enterprise applications. We will call it non-SAP. Everything which is not SAP or Oracle is non-SAP Oracle, obviously, right? What I did was I clicked on create function, provided all these details, and then I clicked on create. Once I clicked on create, I will be able to see that my function got created. Now, what I will do is, beside details which I just created, there is something called as entitlements. I will go to entitlements and I will define the entitlement value. In case of Salesforce, what it would have been? It would have been Salesforce administrator. Right now, the example that we are taking is from Active Directory. And we are using this particular group, which is what is the name of the training group? Admin. We are saying that the entitlement value, which is security, training groups, admin is and admins. This is the entitlement that I want to attach to function 1. I will just save it. Similarly, I will create another function. Again, I will go to function, click on action, create new. I will create another function and this time I will add another entitlement value to function 2. And that will be security training participants. We have created two different functions. One is admins, second is participants. And I will save it. Now I will click on risk. I will click on action. I will click on create risk. When I create risk, it will ask me to give names. I have given a name. Cryptographic operators versus administrators. And here I have defined what is the risk type. It is SoD segregation of duties, which is the rule set. Rule set. We have already. From the starting, we are using training rules only. And then, within that, I can define all the functions that I just created. Function 1, function 2. And each function corresponds to an entitlement. Right now, the two functions that we decided. One is administrators and second is participants. Right? Both of them cannot be given to the same person. Obviously, an administrator cannot be a participant of a training. And a participant of a training cannot be the administrator of the training. Right? We are just trying to create that from logical perspective. But what you should be asking me is that Amit, we have defined two functions. Can we define more as well? Yes, you can, right? Rather than two entitlements. If you want to make a combination of 3, 4 or 5 entitlements, you can do that as well. That let's say you, rather than saying that you should not be requesting these two entitlements together, we can also say that you should not be requesting these 3 entitlements together or 4 entitlements together or 5 entitlements together. Right? Once you create that list, right, you provide both these functions. From the drop down, you chose the one that you just created, function 1 and function 2, and then you click on create. Once you click on create, there will be a risk that will get created. Now if you go to rule set and you will use training rules, what we are using from the starting, you will be able to see the ones that we just created. If you go here, you will be able to see request rules. And if you want to make it as default, you will make it as yes. And then you can update it. You can also go to the admin window. And from there you can make this segregation of duties in request on. Let's say what I will do is, for I will go to the security system Salesforce. And there I will enable SoD in request. Similarly, I will go to the Linux as security system. And even there I will switch on this button, show SoD in request. This, what will this do is, this will allow us to show the user what we want to show. Now if you see, there is global configuration. As I told you, there are the configurations which are applicable to entire Saviynt instance are called as global configurations. If you go to SoD within that, you will be able to see approver selection in a SoD violation. You can choose which approver to be selected in case there is an SoD violation. Whom should the SoD violation request go to? Should it go to the manager or someone else? You can choose that as well. Now let's see how it actually works. The end user. There was a user who wanted certain access, went, requested access for himself to Active Directory, added it in his cart. In the next window, two entitlements, finance and human resources. He got a message saying these two entitlements should not be given together, and he still went about submitting it, and there is a violation which got created. Because the manager also approved it. What we could have done to prevent it? Try preventing it. We tried. But still the manager approved it. We cannot do anything. Now what we want to do is, we want to fetch a report for all the users, for all the violations that has happened for a certain application. How can we do that? To do that, there is a very simple process. There is a job. If you go to admin, you go to job control panel, you will be able to see a ping called as segregation of duties. And within that, you have SoD evaluation. You basically click on add new job and you execute it. When you click on add new job, you will have to give a name. And you will also have to provide the email templates, the rule sets, the system that you want to create this report for. Obviously, we are creating right now for Active Directory because both of our group were from Active Directory. This is the rule set that we created, training rules. And this is what type of email template that we want to use. You can mention the email template name as well. And you will submit the request. Once you submit the request, you will receive an email. The end user will receive an email, but you will receive a report. If you now go to, after running this, if you go and you have a look at the report, you will be able to see all the violations that has taken place. This is the one that we created. Chirographic operators versus administrator. You will be able to see that this person, Abhishek Sharavar and Chandra Linsley, both of them have requested access to such applications. And now it is on you. On what action do you want to take? Do you want to allow them having this access? Do you want to reach out to their managers? Do you want to accept this risk? We understand there is a risk, but we have to approve it because we know that they actually need this to get their job done. Right. But you can basically generate a report that you can share with your leadership saying that these were the people who actually request access. He requested access and created SoD violations. Right. Whatever we have learned till is about identifying the problem. That we have done it preventive analysis till the user went ahead and requested access to these applications. We have generated a report. Only generating a report will not help. Right. We would like to mitigate that risk as well. It is not only identifying the problem, but also about solving the problem. How are you going to solve it? I'm sorry. I can hear you. What I am saying is, it is not only about finding the problem. It is also about resolving the problem. To resolve the problem, you have something called as mitigation controls. In mitigation controls, you can define that one. When such problem arise, what should be done? You go to solve. You click on mitigation controls. You click on training SoD. Right. We are continuing the same use case. We choose the rule set. We choose the priority. We choose the status. Right. And then we click on create. When we click on create, it will ask us which risk do you want to identify as part of this report. I am saying chirographic operators versus administrator is the risk I want to mitigate. From when till when for the users who requested this access. To these entitlements, which are creating SoDs, I want a list of all those users who have requested this access between 27th of February to 29th of February. Once I click on submit, I will see this request that these are the two people who requested this. To now, we were just exporting the report saying that I just want to get out of these people. But now, I want to take an action on this. If I want to take an action, I can choose the request that they created and click on move to. If you see here, in move, I can click with the risk accepted. That is, we have got proper approval from their manager that they have access what is needed to get this done, that they really need this access. Or we can mark it as closed, that we identified it. We have take a cognizance of it, and now we are closing this request. Or you can remediate it right now. You close the first one and we click on risk accepted. That means that we understand that there is a risk. There is a risk in this particular case, but we are accepting that risk because we know that that person actually needs this access to get his job done. There is no sideways about it. Once you click on it, you will be able to see till now everything was 0. Risk accepted has become 1. Why has it been 1? Because we have moved one of our risks to risk accepted. Similarly, you can click on remediation. Remediation could be about taking the access away from that person. You can remove access or closing it, that we have evaluated it. We found nothing problematic. We have closed it. Or we leave it open, that we have left open this one. After this, if you want to, you extract reports. The way I told you, you can click on export and then choose what type of report do you want to generate, and you can get all those details to your manager or senior manager. Home server needs that particular, right? If you want to customize, you can customize your report as well. Along with, if you want more details, less detail, within export option, you have all those details. Summary report, auth detail, T-code details, all the company related details that you would like to include. This is what is called as segregation of duties. With segregation of duties, we have understood why do we create segregation of duties, why it is needed from a company perspective, and how do we remediate it, correct? And we have to define the function. Define the function. You have to define Z, and then you make it part of a particular function, so rule set function. And that's how you get it created. If you see here on the left side, whatever options do you see, you will have to use all of them. Can you please differentiate? I understand what is defining a function, what is risk, and the rule set, and what we were discussing. I told you that there are 2 functions. If you are having functions, 2 or more functions together make a risk, makes rule set. You can also multiple, making a rule set, and every function corresponds to an entitlement. 2 entitlements should not be given together. We will create 2 functions, and we will with use of the function to create, and we will use these to create rule set. Interlink, indeed, defined function corresponds entitlement. 1 or more function define 2 or more functions. It will prevent violation of. We will go to the manager, approve the manager, then again we'll send whoever kind of. We mitigate that sometime. You mitigate the risk, it's done. Sometimes we need. There are that you can either you can accept it that this is a problem. We know that the end user these entitlement they could specific way user actually this X correct if is accepted code or the which doesn't actually exist person right code mitigation of take action enough action could accept act could remove X action could generating take cognizance import tomorrow Sikla Senocla o'clock 9 thank you and finally do not forget to like share and subscribe to our channel